Hola, familia, and welcome to Fire and Butterflies. And I am your host, Comadre Cristal. I I love I just love. I think it's so funny because I always start every episode with I love. And I just realized that as I was saying that. I love. Yeah. I love. And and I love hard and I love big and I love wide. And it's something that I have really learned to accept about myself in the last 3 years of my life, and and I saw that a lot in the last episode when I gave a huge tribute to, those 3 amazing women who in the last year helped me find myself, helped me find my voice, and helped me, take off, especially as a, entrepreneur and as a spiritual life coach. And so as I was after that episode, as I reflected, and I was just like, there's just so much more, there's so many more women I can talk about. And I was just like, that would be like a podcast of like on its own, just about powerful women. And then I was like, fuck, it's my podcast. I can make it whatever the heck I want to make it about. And so I realized that in return though, yes, this month is March, and yes, I'm gonna talk about women empowerment, women, all this month. So, hey, be prepared, stay. This is what we're gonna talk about today. And so I realized, okay, like let me talk a little bit more about women empowerment and how um, empowering women is for me, it's also such a huge empowerment of my own. Like it's like the more I empower myself, the more I want and I desire and I have like this push to empower others. Um I don't know, and I don't know, it just feels like that's my calling. It really does. And so last week, as I we talked about these 3 women, I just started really thinking about, like, all of the women in my life and how fortunate I've been and just how just all of it. And I'm telling you, I've had women who, ah, they don't wanna empower you, they don't wanna stand by you, they don't, and that's also hard because, you know, I feel for me, it was already hard enough when I have society against me with multiple things. One, I'm a woman. Two, woman of color. There's just so many like added layers. I'm a heavy set woman, so then there's biases in that in that part too, because we live in a society that just believes beauty is all about a certain size, and there's a whole thing there. But it's so interesting how when there's just so many things stacked up against someone, we still bash on each other. And and I was thinking about that because, I've reflected the last week since my last episode about the women in my life. And also the women who I helped me and then didn't really they hurt me. And I think that's always the hard part to look at people who do hurt us. Um, and so yeah, that's really what I'm going to continue to talk about today. And I really want to talk about the shit talking. Like that's the best way to call it. It's the shit talking, um, the gossiping, the backstabbing, the competition. I don't know. There's just so many things that in my 34 years of life I've experienced with women. Um and it starts from a very young age. And that is like the part where I'm like, "What? Like what? How does that happen?" Like since little girls, like we yeah. So, if you're interested, stick around. That's what this episode's going to be about. Um So let me start with what I've experienced in the aspect of how I've noticed a difference between uplifting each other versus bringing people down. And I will admit, I myself was a shit talker. I am a shit talker. I don't want to say was like it's gone and over with. It's a character of default of mine that I'm working on because again, I'm not fucking perfect, and I'm never ever gonna come up here on my podcast, on any of my social media, or even on one-on-ones with you. Like I'm never gonna come across with to you making you think I am perfect because I'm not. I am far from perfect. So yes, I am a shit talker. It's something that I'm really intentional of working towards not being it because I have since I this it happened like about 4 years ago was when I really hit me hard of like, oh, like there's a difference here when you don't when you don't. And so that's what I'm gonna talk about in that evolution of what I have experienced and what I've witnessed. So for all purposes, I want to define shit talking as when you are talking smack about someone without them being in the present room. However, if we talk about someone, how do I put it? I feel like I'm already getting myself confused. Let me backtrack. If I have an issue with so and so doesn't know about that issue, but yet I'm telling everyone else my issue, that's shit talking. Because if so and so knew and they don't care, then I'm gonna tell everyone because it's like, well, it like um, I don't think that's shit talking because shit talking is for me is when the other person doesn't know your true intentions. If you're gonna be true and authentic, and like if I don't like so and so, best believe so and so knows I don't like them, and best believe that if I'm talking smack is because they know I don't like them. So it's like that's the kind of shit talking I'm talking about. Like for me, the shit talking I've experienced in my life against myself is when someone is talking smack about me, but they turn around and they're like, "Oh my god, you're the best person ever." And I'm like, you just told someone I care about that you like that shit talking." And that has happened a lot in my life. And it's hard because growing up, at least for me, I also had a lot of my own issues to work through, the people pleasing, the perfectionism, um and it was really hard when I would hear, and a lot of this was not even like, here's the crazy part. I'm talking about like this is stuff from my childhood. These are things I remember as a child. And on the other part of that, I also because school you don't know what you're doing. Like you're a child, you're trying to learn all these things. I was also doing the same thing. And now as an adult, I look back and I'm like, "Ay, Cristal, you were a bully. Like that was not okay." And I've been able to experience that with my kiddos because seeing how they are interacting at school, how they interact with their peers, the things they say to each other, even as siblings, like I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I need to nip this in the bud now because it's going to get worse as an adult. Because I know I was that adult. And so yeah, in high school, I had a few good, really, really good friends, best friends, and I think in high school is when it kind of evened out a little bit more, where you knew who your friends were and you were able to figure that out. I was fortunate that I did have really good friends, um, but I was also dealing with an alcoholic father and a workaholic mother. So high school for me kind of is a blur. Like, my childhood's a huge blur, but high school, it's when people talk about their high school years, I'm like, I just remember I had to grow up real quick because, I mean, I started working at the age of 14. Like, at 14, I was already working, and I mean, I was going to school, but I was working, and the reason why I was working was, 1, to bring in financial resources to my parents, and also because it was my escape. Like that at that point, that's what I found my escape to get out of my house was to go to work and just get the heck out of my house. Like that was my escape from home. And so I started working at 14. And so I didn't get to experience a lot of like, the high school stories and stuff that people talk about. Because I worked. I worked. Um I I I remember though that it was an interesting transition to move because when I moved from Illinois to California, um, I left like my friends that I grew up with. So these were friends that I grew up with, and we went through elementary school all the way through high school, and then now to be in a new high school across the country with completely different people I never knew, I never grew up with. Um, And now that was the first time I really experienced bullying um in the high school setting. And not bullying like I don't know, like the shit talking. I'll say that instead because I think the word bully it's huge and nowadays there's all kinds of it. But I want to talk about the shit talking. Um and it was yeah, that was hard. That was hard, especially being at I was 16, and so being 16, trying to live in a new state, everything's changed. My parents are getting separated, like, and the girls in my class are mean. Like, they were mean. Um, that last month of school year that was my junior year, and that was just it was yeah, I don't like it. So, senior year though was better. I was able to make some friends um and that was great. It was really nice to be able to find community again. And it was three girls. So are you starting to see how three follows me everywhere? Three girls. They were my really good friends. And it was great. I got to experience. I still was working because workaholic cristal didn't go away. I was still working, but going to high school and doing what I had to do. And so after high school was when I went off to school, and I really, I mean, I'm an adult now. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going to happen. Um, and I'm off 3 hours away from my home, and I'm like, community, I need to find community. And it was so interesting how it came to me, how my community at that point came to me. And that was through a sorority. As I mentioned in the previous episode, in college, I joined a sorority, Sigma Omega Phi. And yeah, now that talk about women empowerment, talk about shit talking, talk about like it was like but it was also beautiful because that was when I really learned that shit talking was not like it wasn't about being liked, or it was like about like people weren't like how do I explain it? Because I don't want to say my sorority sisters were shit talkers because they weren't. It was like more or less like this was the first time in my life I was able to experience when you agreed with someone or where you disagreed with someone, and how to have a healthy conversation, and how to be able to express yourself and express when someone hurt you, or express when you were mad or upset. And that's because we had like in my story, like we actually had systems in place for conversations, SoFi time. Like it was just it was beautiful to be able to experience how empowered women. Like, it was just so phenomenal. If we had problems amongst each other, we'd find ways to talk it out. We'd find ways to work it out. And so the shit talking was there, but it just was minimal, and it was nice. And of course, we did not always agree with each other, and we didn't always agree with each other's actions and things, but we still loved each other. It was like the first time I had ever experienced a love so genuine like that, amongst women. And I was just like, "Oh my god, I found my women." And again, sorority sisters, I had 3 very, very special ones that were very special to me, my line sisters. If you know Greek talk, you know what I'm talking about. The 3 amazing women, and each one very different from each, like, and I learned to just love them, and they loved me, and to this day, I still love them, and they still love me, and I love being able to stay in touch with them. And again, we don't always agree with each other, and that's okay. And I think that's something that I've really have learned to love about people is the fact that we're all different. Um, Now as an adult, how I have seen it, when I say an adult, college I was an adult, but very different adult, let me tell you, very different. I would say, after college, when I graduated and went off to be my big girl and go into this world and all that, especially in the workplace, I think that was, like, when I really started to see, "Oh, this is not like college. This is very different." Um, But it was still always something that I hold really important to me was just to just always be a friend, because that was something that I learned in my sorority is that the more I got to meet these women, every one of them came with a background. Every one of them came with their own traumas. Every one of them came with their own story. And and it was just beautiful to be able to just love on them because they needed it. They deserved it. All of them, all of them. And it was just so beautiful. And so in the workplace, it was always something that I held really close to my heart and important to my heart was to treat everyone with dignity and love and respect. Um, and and it was something that I also translated into my clients because I don't know if I've shared it in this podcast or if I don't know I don't know who my followers are, but let me briefly give a synopsis. I was working in the field of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking for the last 10 years before I transitioned into what I do now. And so I was very adamant of giving that love and dignity and respect also to my clients, the victims and survivors of these terrible, terrible times in their lives. And so it was just so beautiful to be able to experience that and then to work with clients on a daily basis and for them to see the growth that they had. And it was just so beautiful because I remember like the main thing every time a client would come in, the first thing I would let them know is everything we talk about is confidential. Everything. Like you can whatever it is you need to share, I there's confidentiality. Like I, you know, um and and just to see them at that moment almost take down their guard and be like, "Okay, like I could share, I could talk, and this won't come back at me, affect me or haunt me or something like that." And so being able to provide that for women. Because my previous agency served women, men, children, or anyone who identified as anything. Like it was for everyone. But the majority of the people who came in were always women. So I'm going to use a lot of pronouns of women. But um, the the women, it was just phenomenal to experience that and to witness that. And so that was when I was like starting to realize, I'm like, oh shit, like shit talking really does take a toll on people. It really does affect people. And so yeah, it was just something there, work stuff, you know, there was all I mean, in any workplace, there's always a workplace drama. And it wasn't anything crazy dramatic, but I've had my fair shares. Um, but I always just stood in my place of loving everyone and knowing that that's all I could do is I could just love them. Like even if I agree or disagree, even if they agree or disagree, I'm just gonna love them. That's all I'm gonna do. Like I just there's nothing I can do about it. Um, and 3 years ago, that's where I really wanna emphasize of when I really started seeing the difference of how when I started being more intentional of backing away from shit talking and backing away from, um my own, like, just getting into the drama of things. Like, I still listen, like, I'm that kind of person, I will listen to you, but best believe I'm not gonna join and talk smack. I'm just not, like, I'm at that place now. But in the I mean, if any of you are followers or my friends and you know, you're like, "Crystal," be like, "Yes, I know, but it's also something I'm working on." So, it's constant, it's a daily, okay? But anyways, um, I had, lots going on in my life 3 years ago, a lot going on in my life. And I needed help. I'm not trying to not share everything, but this is gonna be a whole other episode down the line. I just don't want to I wanna be able to keep everything in track. So one of the things that I decided to do in part as part of my own healing journey, as my own healing, was I joined a 12-step recovery program because I needed it. I needed it. And um the this 12-step recovery program was to help me in my recovery of my own codependency, my people pleasing. It wasn't an addiction, like in hindsight, it was an addiction. It was an addiction to control. Like I wanted to control everything and everyone. And so I joined a 12-step recovery program. And I remember the one of the um not the rules, because there's no rules in recovery programs, but kinda like the guidelines or the guidelines, we'll call them that. I remember one of, like, the guidelines was that we refrain from gossiping, and I was just like, "Wow." Like, why would someone wanna put that as a guideline of refrain from gossiping? They even say, like, refrain from gossiping outside of meetings, and I'm like, "That's weird. That's interesting. Let me see where that goes." Kept it in the back of my head, saw where it went. Um, and then I saw why the importance of that happened. And I was just like, oh, oh my gosh, I see it now. So it was in my own life, trust me, where I was sharing something in a meeting. I was the one sharing, and I didn't care, like, if you ever been, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, hit me up. I'm happy to talk to you about my experience because it's phenomenal. I mean, to this day, I still go to my meetings. Trust me, they saved my life. And so, I was sharing, and then after my share, I had someone come up to me and said, "Oh, I've heard so much about you," and I'm like, "Well, that's a little weird because this I thought like talk about going to panic mode, like panicking, like, what have you heard, what's going on, like because when you go into these meetings, like it's vulnerability, and it was just like, oh my god, like, and I tried staying cool, calm, and collective, and I was just like, oh, I mean, thank you, and they're like, oh, and then like I think they noticed my reaction of why like I was kind of like panicking, and then they right away immediately said, oh no, like I was at the meeting and they you're going to be presenting in the next meeting and they said that you're a great speaker and blah blah blah. I'm like, oh, thanks, like that's great. And so that's when I noticed of like, oh shit, like that's what they mean by gossiping, because gossiping is when you are doing it behind someone's back. And then when it comes to forward to like that causes a lot of damage or anxiety or whatever it's causing. Like it caused me anxiety. And so what I started to see was, wait, how do I apply this to my own life? Like how am I going to react on the days that if people are talking about me? And then I started thinking, wait, if I don't like people talking about me, then why am I talking about people? And so then that went into a whole different thing of like, wait, why do I talk about people? Why like why do I shit talk? Like why do I like what is that feeding me? What is that doing for me? Um and and so then I was just like, whoa, I need to bring in this practice into my own personal life. Um and so once I started doing that, I just started to really see how much as women we talk shit about each other. And I was just like, and I was knee deep into this. Like I was just like, once I really stepped away, and this like literally happened like about 3 years ago in my life, when I really started stepping away from that, I started to just see it. And then even with myself, even when I would catch myself in it, I'd be like, why am I doing this? Like, ew, like this is not what I want. Like, because I remembered what happened in college. I remembered that in college, I when I was connected with all these amazing women, they all had their own stories, they all had their own backgrounds. No one was perfect. And so and for so many people, that is detrimental to have someone talk about you, and especially if you don't have the coping skills or the ways to maneuver through it, or to like have zero fucks to give, because it's taken me a lot of time to work to that point now, because even 3 years ago, like I cared a lot about what people had to say about me. I cared a lot about what people's thoughts about me, and it would bring me down. Heck, not even 3 years ago. I literally just had, like, biggest breakdown where this happened was actually, within the last year. It was an of 2023. It was at the end of 2023 when I had my biggest, um, moment of realizing I have to stop caring about other people's thoughts, opinions about me. Like, I just have to. Like, it's not serving me. Um, and to this day, it's been a lot of releasing. I've been doing a lot of work to let go of those things and to let go of those other people's baggage, because it's other people's baggage that I've been fucking carrying. And I'm just like, no, I'm done. I am done. Now talk. I don't care. I just don't care. Like it just doesn't, it's a complete, but I've had to do a lot of work to get to that point. And seeing how I've contributed into that myself, I'm just like, "Whoa," like, it's so sad and mind-blowing how we we start to instill this kind of behavior in our little children, because I see this now full circle with my own kids as I take them to school, as I take them to daycare, as I take them to where they have to be, and I see the interactions between them and their peers, um and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh," like, it's yeah. And I see this all the like, even in interactions with adults, and this happened a lot this week. Uh, for me, it was interesting witnessing this. I was at the grocery store the other day, and I was my usual cheerful self talking to myself. Yes, I talk to myself. I was talking to myself, walking through, asking myself what I needed to get, what I didn't need. Do we really need that? No, we don't. You know, that kind of conversation. And this woman was coming on the same aisle on the opposite end, and she was scolding her child, because her child is a toddler grabbing everything, and she's was scolding him. And I literally just gave her the biggest smile, and I was just and I, like, through my eyes, tried telling her, like, "Girl, I know." And she saw that I saw, and she saw that, and she, like, immediately I don't know what happened. I don't know what started going through her mind or her head, but I could share that I felt her immediately put her guard up and feel like she had to explain herself to me, like she started like full blown, oh, it's just he does this and this, like explaining herself to me. And I just listened, and I looked at her, and I go, it's fine, I trust me, I don't come shopping with my kids anymore because I know. And she's like, I know. And then she just starts pouring everything onto me, this poor mom. I feel you. I feel you. And she just starts pouring about, like, how her partner's not helping, and the partner wants another kid, and she's like, "You're not helping me with this kid." And I was just like, "Yeah, I feel you. I hear you." And and that's all, I just kept saying, like, "I hear you." Like, yeah, that's tough. And as she started walking away, I called her and I was like, "Hey, but don't forget, like, I don't know if anyone's told you this, but you're a badass mom. Just know that. Just believe it and know that you are a badass mom and you're doing the best you can with what you have right now." You guys, as soon as I said that, she just, like, lifted up her smile, her energy, and she was just like, "Oh my god, thank you." Like, it was like that's all she needed to hear. I mean, yes, she probably needs a lot more than just to hear those things from a complete stranger, but can you see how different it was to just give her that sort of uplifting versus the in my head probably would have said, "Ugh, this bitch is crazy," or damn, like, this girl got problems. Like, no. Yes, she has problems. Yes, but let's uplift each other. And so that's really what I've been like, so have noticed in my own life, how I just like the more I feel uplifted in my own journey, how the more I love myself, the more I empower myself, the more I just want to do that for others and be that reminder and be that upliftment for them. And so, yeah, just that's what I'm really seeing this month, especially as, again, Women's History Month. Oh, I love how I did that in my story, like Women's Her Story Month. Like this is the month where we need to be celebrating women. Heck, I wanna be celebrating women every day of the year, 365 days a year. Like, we should absolutely be celebrating women. Mother Earth is Gaia, like, hello, like, we are sitting and standing on Mother Earth, who is, like, feminine energy. So, yeah, I'm just going on a whole thing right there. But anyways, just let's let's uplift each other. Let's uplift each other fully and wholly. Let's love on each other. And this is to all women out there, and everyone and anyone who identifies as a woman. Like this, uplift each other. Don't talk smack. Don't go down that part of it. And I get it. I mean, trust me. Like I said, I'm working on it myself. I try really hard and am very mindful and intentional of I don't want to go down that path anymore because it's easy to go down that path. It's absolutely easy, but it's not worth it. It's just not because afterwards, for me, at least, I end up feeling icky and feeling kind of bad because it's like, damn, like I didn't that's not who I am. I don't like that. So just uplift each other. You don't have to agree with everyone. You don't. You really don't. Just uplift each other. Trust me, I don't agree with everyone. But we have to. We get to uplift each other. That is one of the most beautiful things as a human that I'm blessed and grateful that spirit gave to us is the ability to uplift each other because it doesn't cost much. It doesn't do anything. Just even a simple smile, when you're smiling at someone can uplift a spirit and a soul. Just being able to give someone a gentle eye contact is uplifting in itself. A hug, if people are huggers, words of affirmation, if you love to hear things, just whatever it takes. The more we uplift each other, the more we love on each other, the more we send blessings and send good loving energy towards people, that makes a difference. Because the more we send out that frustration, that anger, that jealousy, that competition, that that energy, it's it doesn't raise anything. It doesn't do anything. It just continues that cycle and no, it's not worth it. It's not. So, yeah, that's this episode. That's the whole tangent. Thank you all for listening. I oh, you know what? Before we end it, I want to end it with a poem that I learned in college during my sorority years. And this poem is a beautiful poem, and it's by Maya Angelou. Um, may she rest in power. But this poem is absolutely the definition of a woman, and I love it. And so I'm gonna close this off with "Phenomenal Woman" by Maya Angelou. And I'm gonna kind of do it with sass because that's how I learned to read this poem. Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman. Phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. I walk into a room just as cool as you please, and to a man, the fellows stand or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes, the flash of my teeth, the swing of my waist, and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say, it's in the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breast, the grace of my style. I'm a woman. Phenomenally, phenomenal woman, that's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say, it's in the click of my heels, the bend in my hair, the palm of my hand, the need for my care. 'Cause I'm a woman. Phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. Mwah. I am sending you all so much fire and butterflies. And as always, don't forget, love your now. Bye.